Okay, we will back to Matthew chapter 5. And now we've been working a long series on Matthew chapter 5. Now, let me bring some refreshment so that we will know what we are going to enter into. Now, remember, we have been talking about Ezekiel 37, where we began there. We began with the two elements. One is the bones coming together, structures are implemented, so that what? Representation will become. Then there was a breath was released. Not only the structure, but the Spirit of God must be released in order for the structure to become very much powerful, manifested. That was Ezekiel 37. Now we are looking on the structure, the bones. And as we look at the bones, we come across that Matthew chapter 5, the Beatitudes are the bones that we are supposed to be implement, cooperate within our life. How many of you remember that? And that's what we saw in Matthew chapter 5, where Jesus was the captain of battalions. He's speaking to the battalions and say that these are the structures that I want you to be implement in your life. These are things that be inscribed in your life so that what? You become a very powerful weapon in my hands so that you will what? Influence the earth, impact the earth, become a strategic elements. And that's what we have been looking at. Are you with me? So we went into Matthew chapter 3, Matthew chapter 5, was we saw the blessed is poor in the spirit, and we saw several beatitudes, which is, some says 9, some says 8. I believe that is 8, because verse 11 and 12 are together. Are you with me? So now today we want to look at Matthew chapter 5, verse 13. We are going to look on one verse. Then from there we will pick it up. What is that? Okay, now, so what is about heading here? The content of the battalions of God. And as we look at that, verse 13, we are going to look three things: worth, work, warning. Are you with me? Now, I want to rephrase this heading. What I mean by that contents, what I mean there's a conflict. Here Jesus is trying to say to these battalions that I want to move you to become a strategic movement. How many of you come across the word trump card? Have you come across the word trump card? What is trump card essentially? A winning card. A card that can actually bring you to what? Advance, movement, choice, and all this. That's what trump card. So here Jesus is trying to say to the battalion, as long these are the beatitude, these structures that's come into you, automatically you become a trump card. Automatically you become a strategic movement. You understand what I'm saying? That means you're making a movement that is going to advance, explode the kingdom of God. That's what he's trying to say when he says you are the salt. Are you with me? How many of you follow what I'm saying? Please listen very carefully. Don't lose it, because this is very something that very powerful, which you and I have to meditate upon. So here he's trying to say to the battalion, I'm going to make you to become a impact movement. That means you yourself become the movement. You yourself become the strategic. You know, sometimes we say we need a strategic location to advance our business. Many of them say the statement. Have you come across that? What it means is a location where they can able to draw many customers, where they can impact what? Marketing strategy. That is what strategic locations. So Jesus is trying to say, as long these are the beatitude, these are bones that will structure in your life, you become a strategic location where I can move through you my kingdoms to expand. Do you understand what I'm saying? That? How many of you are getting what I'm saying? Looks like some of you are lost. Is it? Are you lost or what? Or asleep? Please listen very carefully. So he said that you become the strategic movement. That means you become the trump card that where I can make you to what? Become a winner. Are you understand that? That's what he's trying to say. Are you with me? So here you and I to become a what? Strategic movement. A movement that we can bring into the earth. The power, the demonstrations of the kingdom of God into earth. So without you and me Jesus cannot what? Bring his demonstration and his power and advance his kingdom. And that's what he's trying to say is you are the salt. I'm just doing some introduction so that we can actually work into that. So what are we seeing here? So what I'm seeing here, a strategic movement that is not a movement of an event or an actions, but you become the strategic movement. Are you with me? That means you yourself. When you will become? When you are saturated by the Beatitudes. Are you with me? How many of you remember that when the bones come together and the breath was released, what happens? The final finale was what? They became a what? A massive army. Am I right? We saw that. End goal was what? Become a massive army. What's the purpose of that? What do Ezekiel 37 is talking about? Talking to the nation of Israel, I know that you have been despair. I know that you've been disappointed. You've been destroyed. But remember, I'm about to do something good that will bring all the structure inside you, that I will release a breath so that you will become an army that can invade nations, influence nations, impact nations. And that's what Ezekiel 37 is all about when he's talking to the nations. But what is the implication here? You and I are actually the prophetic imagery of Ezekiel 37. Are you with me? So where the bones are coming together. That's what we are seeing in Matthew chapter 5. Are you with me? Hey, please agree with me. Shows that you are actually able to possess that. Okay, now? Can we read Matthew chapter 5, verse 13? And we are going to look at verse 13. And maybe we can read verse 14 or so. Then after that, we will go back to verse 13.
You are the salt of the earth, but if the salt has become tasteless, how can it be made salty again? It is no longer good for anything, except to be thrown out and trampled underfoot by people.
Verse 14.
You are the light of the world. A city set on a hill cannot be hidden.
Okay, now look at me. Here Jesus giving a parabolical picture, an imagery, illustration. I look at Jesus, very interesting. Whenever he teaches something, he will always use an illustration, an imagery, so that he can convey what? Insight through the imagery. Have you come across where Jesus was saying that a farmer went to sow, where he threw his seed into the what? The pathway, the rocky, the thorn, and the good soil. When he say that statement, the people who are audience are listening, it will captivate them because it's what? An agriculture terms which they are very much what? In tune with that. Are you with me? How many of you getting what I'm saying? So when Jesus is saying that you are the salt, you are the light, it is not something that is a new thing that he's trying to implement that. It's something that they've been daily exercising, something that daily they are utilizing, and out of that he's trying to say, let me give you an illustration, let me give you an imagery that will remain in your mind so that you can what? Out of the imagery that you can have insight. Like icon. How many of you come across icon? What's icon? When you press icon, what happened? That is where you are able to what? Enjoy the functionality of the icon. So Jesus is trying to give two icons. The icon number one is salt. Icon number two is what? Light. And the imagery, a picture where you and I can press on. And as we press on, what happened? The illustration will give us instructions, insight, how you and I supposed to become a strategic movement impacting the society, homes, city, and nation. And that's what he's trying to do here. Are you with me? How many of you getting what I'm saying? Are you following what I'm saying? So that's what he's trying to do. Okay, that's a kind of way he's teaching them so that, you see, pictures speak many languages. Am I right? Many words. That's what many of us say that. Am I right to say? When you see a picture, it conveys many messages. So that's what Jesus is trying to say, that this is what you are. This is the picture that I'm showing to you. And this is what you are. So this is the imagery as you look at, as the icon look at us, that's where you are. You will have many insight of yourself. And that's what he's trying to do here. Okay? Are you with me? Now, secondly, I want to say something. Presuppositions. You know what's presupposition? Something you assume, something you know that is happening. So here Jesus is giving presuppositions of the world. What I mean by that, what is happening in the world, what is the world is going to be. That's what he's talking about here. How do I come into conclusion is by the imagery. You understand that? That means two things that he's trying to say is the world is getting decay. So you need salt. The world is become darkness. You need light. You understand what I'm trying to say? Are you with me? Are you getting what I'm saying? So here he's trying to bring the imagery, and as we eye contact, you and I press eye contact, you will see why you are the light. Why are you the salt? Because the world is about to what? Movement towards a place of decay, movement to a place of darkness. That is called presupposition. Are you with me? How many of you getting what I'm saying? So he's trying to say, this is what is going to happen to the world. The world that you and I live is going to be decayed. The world you and I are going to live is going to be get darker and darker and darker and darker. But let me tell you something. In the moment of decay, in the moment of darkness, you and I have an assignment. You and I have an insight. You and I have an instruction. How do you are supposed to navigate in the seasons of decay and the seasons of darkness? Are you with me? Are you with me? And that's what he's trying to say when he's talking about light, when he talk about salt. So what are we seeing here? First of all, we saw what? The imagery that will be able to stick on in your mind, so that there's instructions inside that you can learn. Secondly, we saw the presuppositions that this is what is continuously going to happen in the earth that you live. The world that you live is going to be darker, it's going to be decay. In the midst of darker and decay, you must be what? Your life supposed to be like salt and light. Are you with me? Now, whenever you read the Greek, there are grammatic terms that you and I need to understand. The tense, the verb that he's actually using. When Jesus says that you are the salt of the earth, the verb that he's using here is a very interesting verb. He didn't say that you will become a salt. One day you will, as you go walk in the Lord, you will become salt. That's not what he's trying to say. He says you're already a salt. That means this is what you are. This is your identity. This is your DNA. It cannot be changed. This is what you are. So he didn't say that you will one day, as you grow in the Lord, you come to service, as you serve the Lord, you will be progressively become salt. That's not the Greek verb is all about. It says that you are ready and you are continually will be the salt. Maybe getting what I'm saying. The question is not that you're salt. The question is, are you salty? The question is not whether you're going to be, you're ready. Whether you will remain the flavor that the salt will give. Are you with me? That's the question that he's trying to throw here. Are you with me? Then, in a sense, what he's trying to say is, you are the only salt that is necessary to be there in the midst of decay. If you are not understand your identity, the insight, the imagery that I'm trying to give you, then you will never able to remove the decay that is going to happen in the earth. You cannot remove the darkness that is going to happen in the world. Are you with me? How many of you understand? So, can you say somebody beside you, listen very carefully and understand who you are? Can you say to somebody, hello? Please do that. So what are we saying here? We saw the verb. Now, I'm not talking the worm, it's verb. So that means what he's trying to talk about. This is you are ready. So what he's trying to say, that means Matthew chapter 5, verse 3 onwards until verse 10. He says, if these are the beatitudes, if these are the structures comes inside you, what happens? Automatically, you are a salt. Automatically, you are a light. I no need to say that I want to be a light. I don't need to say that I want to be salt. Can you please pray for me? Can you make me a salt? Jesus is not saying that you are already a salt, a light. The implication means what? Let me go back to the word worth. What's the implication here? He's saying that you are worth in this world. Whether the world recognizes this or not, that you need to recognize the worthiness of you to remain in the world. That's what Jesus is trying to say. Let me show you the worthiness of you. Maybe the people who doesn't know the Lord doesn't understand the implication. The world doesn't understand that. But let me give you an understanding. You need to understand the worthiness of who you are. You are salts that can help to what? Remove the decay. You are the light that can actually what? Vanish, what? Expose, dispel the darkness. That is the worthiness of you. That's what he's trying to say. How many of you understood what I'm saying? Now, I don't know about you. When I come to understand, when I read, research this, I no need to get appraisal from others. I no need to get applause from others. I already knows my worthiness because this is what I am. And this is what the DNA that is within me. And so the DNA is within in me is that actually ready what? Compose the worthiness of who am I. Are you with me? Are you getting what I'm saying? Are you following what I say? So this morning that I want to encourage you that you're worthy. Whether others say you're worthy, or whether others despise you, others say things about with his false accusation, doesn't matter. Why? As long God says you're worthy, this is what I saw, this is what you are, and as you understand the insight of who you are and understand and bring that implication in your life, then you will be a part of me, my what? A battalion that will remove the decay that is happening in the world and the darkness that is invading the world, that you will be able to what? Expel it. Are you with me? So what he's trying to say is, he's talking about the worthiness of the salt. Now, many of you don't understand the value of the salt right now. Is any one of you, have you come across, look at the salt, they say, you're so valuable, so precious. I want to keep you secret. Have you done that? No. You chunk that somewhere else. Am I right? But in those ancient days, in Roman ancient days, you know the value of the salt is very important. Number one, it's so much valuable, so much expensive. Right now we can buy the salt. Those days I remember 10 cents I can buy a packet. So when you buy 10 cents salt, what you will say? Cheap lah. What worth? Because we don't recognize this. But in Roman Empire, in the Roman world, they recognize this. Salt is so much important, so much value, so much expensive, that even the Roman soldiers are paid by the salary with salt. Do you know that? Salt is their salary. And so much worth. What is Jesus trying to say? You're so valuable, so expensive, so important. Are you with me? That's what Jesus is trying to say. So what he's trying to say, he's trying to what? Stir up the what? The imagery, the identity that you and I carry, the DNA, when the structures comes inside you, when the bones comes inside you, inscribe inside you what? Automatically you are salt. And this is what you are, your worthiness, your value, you're important, you're expensive. When you have that understanding and that senses, what will happen? You will never walk into an inferiority complex. You will never look for somebody to recognize you, to say about you something about greatness about you, because you already knows that you are great in the eye of God. Are you with me? I'm going to get what I'm saying. That is the worthiness of the salt. So what the Roman soldier does? They have been paid by salt. So when they pay salt, that means what they are saying, the worthiness of the soldier. You understand that? How many of you getting what I'm saying? Why? Why they paid salt? Because those days, salt is very important because there are many implications with salt. Number one, it helps to preserve. Do you know there's no, no cooler, no refrigerator, nothing. So they need to what? To preserve a what? Meat or fish. What they supposed to do? Rub the salt so that it can what? Make the meat and the fish to have longevity so that it will never decay. You understand that? So that's the importance of the ancient world. Because you and I have all the what? Facilities to what? To keep not to decay. Am I right? But those they don't have. So it doesn't have. So remember how Jesus is, look at Jesus, how when he mentioned the word salt, everything that is the audience are listening to, it's going to be what? Many pictures, imagery that is going to come in your mind. Many thoughts inside, exploding inside them. You and I, when I say you are salt, we will never recognize that. Because they knows what is salt in that seasons, in that context, how much valuable, important, expensive. You understand that? That is the importance of the salt. So what is Jesus trying to say? This is what you are. This is the value of you. And this is the importance of you. This is very expensive of you. You understand? How many of you get what I'm saying? Do you understand the worthiness? Do I need to somehow build that? No, right? Okay, now let me go to the next portion. So we saw the worthiness of the salt. Now, secondly, we're going to see the work of the salt. I'm going to give you 8 things how the salt works. And then let us bring implication into our life. Are you able to hear what I'm saying? Now, let me go back to Matthew chapter 5 again. I'll read for you the scripture. He says, you are the salt of the world. Now look at me. If I were paraphrase, what would I face? You are already a salt. You are very valuable. You're so important, so expensive. Continue to be what you are. You're not becoming the salt. You're already a salt. Remain there. Understood there that you are the salt. You are the only one. That's what he's trying to say when he says you are the salt of the world. Are you understand? When I paraphrase, you understand I'm trying to paraphrase what the Greeks was actually means. Are you with me? Okay, now let me go back to the function of the salt. Okay, can I do that? First of all, the salt has power of preservivity. What I am saying, preservivity, I've already told you that those days when they buy fish, meat, they don't have refrigerator to put inside. So only way to prevent, to make it longevity. So what they does, they get the salt, rub it, and they place the meat and the fish. So it prevent it from not to decay. So longevity and lastivity is that happen. So what Jesus is trying to say, you are the salt. Can what? Can preserve all the decay that enemy is trying to bring the earth. Now look at me. If you are salt at home, look at me. If you are salt at home, every decay element that is invading in your home has no power. Let this go into your mind and heart. If you sense that decay is coming into your life, that shows that you what? Lost your saltiness. Are you with me? Are you getting what I'm saying? So that's what Jesus is trying to say. I want you to be a battalion, understood this insight that you are the salt. I'm sending to the world so that decay will not spread into the world. Decay will not what? Jeopardize my purpose. So I'm sending you as a troop so that you will become an instrument of preservivity. You understand what I'm saying? That's what he says. If that is true, then if you go to your workplace, if there is decay is happening, you are supposed to be preserving them. If the society is getting what? Decay, then you are supposed to preserve them. There's a preservative power inside you. If that is not happening, then according to the words, that means you lost your what? Your saltiness. Are you with me? Now, let us read one verse. Proverbs chapter 14, verse 34. Very interesting word. Can we read that?
Righteousness exalts a nation, but sin is a disgrace to any people.
Righteousness exalt nations. That means what is, if I say into our New Testament context, if you are salt in the earth will be exalted, nation will be exalted. If you are salt in your home will be exalted. If you are salt in your working place, you will be exalted in your working place. That is what it means. What is righteous? The Beatitudes. Blessed are poor in the spirit. Blessed are pure in heart. Blessed are what? Peacemaker. These are what? Structures that inside you, element that is built inside you, what? That shows righteousness. When that's why the Bible says, seek his kingdom and his righteous. Am I right? Did he say that? Matthew chapter 6. So what we are trying to say is, righteous has power to what? Preserve the nation not from decay, but what? Bring that to place called elevation positions. Now, remember I say the word strategic movement. You become the strategic movement. You become the trump card that God can use you to expand, influence, impact nations. Did I say that? Now, there's one of the things that I understand is Jesus is trying to give us strategic way to evangelize nations. How I come across this? Let me give you an example. Genesis chapter 18. How many of you remember that? When God is about to destroy Sodom and Gomorrah, because the decay has been happening in the nation of Sodom and Gomorrah, God says, I have to bring judgment. And before he goes, he says, shall I hide to Abraham? What am I about to do? Remember, there's God himself having a conversation. And then God shares what he's about to do. And what did Abraham did? Lord, if there is 50 righteous men, will you what? Destroy Sodom and Gomorrah? He was just pleading to God, and then as conclusion, what he says? 10. Did he say that? He said, many of us don't have a clue that actually God is giving us key to impact nations. He says, if there is 10 men who knows that their identity is salt and learn to build the structures of beatitude, they are salt, they can impact the decay that enemy is trying to bring. Are you with me? So that's what he's trying to say. That's what I mean, that strategic movement, that you become the strategic movement. You become the trump card that God can use you when you are a salt. You understand that? So that's what he's trying to say, preservative. There's something, elements that is. How many of you know that? Why did oceans have salt? Do you know that? Is it a shock for you? Oceans carries many salt. Scientifically proven, if the ocean is not salt, the ocean will create plague that will devastate the earth. What I say? Plague that what? Devastate the earth. So the salt that was placed in the ocean, so that what? The ocean will never be decay and cause plague that to destroy the entire ocean. Entire what? Earth. So what that? Salt what? Preserve the oceans to not to what? Come to a place of what? Decay. Scientifically, you're going to search on that. Scientifically say that. So what is that implication here? Now look at me. If you read the Bible, if you have read the Bible very closely, one of the imagery of multitudes, if you would read the book of Revelation, is compared to sea. Jesus says that what? I will make you fishers of men. Where you can be a caught fish? In the land? No, right? In the sea, right? So is the picture of what? A sea is humanity. You understand that? In the midst of the humanity, in the oceans of humanity, you and I are the salt that is being placed in the ocean, so the ocean will be preserved, so that the ocean will not what? Spread what? Plague. Are you with me? How many of you getting what I'm saying? And that's what he says. Now, what I'm trying to say is the importance and the value of who you are, it need to go into your heart and mind so that you must stir up and say, this is what I am, and this is the structure that's supposed to be in my heart, in my life. Are you with me? Okay, now, let me go to the next one. The salt as a what? Ability to preserve. The salt also ability to penetrate. How many of you know that whenever the salts touch anything, it can change? Do you know that? Hello? That's the power of the salt. The ability to penetrate. Now look at it. Let us read Acts 8:1 and verse 4. Verse 1 and verse 4.
Now Saul approved of putting Stephen to death, and on that day a great persecution began against the church in Jerusalem, and they were all scattered throughout the regions of Judea and Samaria, except for the apostles.
Verse 4.
Therefore, those who had been scattered went through places preaching the word.
Now what happened? In the midst of persecutions, they cannot remove the saltiness of the saints. Wherever they go, what happened? Gospel penetrate. Do you realize that? Now look at me. So what are we seeing here? Salt has power to bring penetrations. That means what Jesus is trying to say is, if you understood this is what your identity, you can penetrate anything, whatever you touch. I hope this goes in your heart. That means you can penetrate. You can infiltrate. That's what happens. Now, let us bring the context here. The context is persecution, right? In Jerusalem. Scattered them, verse 1 says. Verse 4 says, in the midst of scattering, what they was? Preaching the gospel. That means they understand they are salt. Even though persecution comes, it doesn't what? Diminish their identity. It doesn't devalue who they are. They still went and penetrate what? The gospel. And that's what Jesus also says in Matthew chapter 5. Remember Matthew chapter 5, when you read the verse 10 and 11 and 12, what is he's talking about there? Persecutions, am I right? Did he talk about that? Blessed are what? Persecuted. For they are the what? For they what? Belongs to the kingdom. Remember he say that? Blessed are those who insult you. Remember he say that? Now what is the context? He says that as long this beatitude is structured inside you, whenever persecution comes, you will never be devalued. And that's why, and then verse 13 says, you are the salt. What happened to Christians whenever persecution comes? What? We devalue ourselves. We string ourselves. We become what? Not infiltrate. We not walk in passivity. And Jesus said, no, that's not what you are. I'm talking about in the context of this, you are the salt. Persecution can come. Oppression can come. Insultation can come. People can do anything to you. But remember who you are. This is what you are. You are not supposed to devalue yourself. You are not supposed to decline yourself. You are supposed to infiltrate in the moment of that. That's what Matthew chapter 5, verse 10, 11, and 12, then verse 30 says you're the salt. And in Acts chapter 8, verse 1, what happened? What was happening, what was taught beatitude was in actions. They was going through a persecution, scattering moment. They are running away. Remember when they scatter, what will happen? Do you think so? They will take barang. They will take, can you please take the TV now? Or this big. No, they cannot do it. They have to scatter, so they have to left the homes, they have to left everybody. In the midst of this, they was not what? Shaken, but they was what? They are knows consistently who they are, and they was infiltrating the gospel. Now, Acts chapter 17, verse 6. Can we read that? Are you following what I'm saying?
When they did not find them, they began dragging Jason and some brothers before the city authorities, shouting, "These men who have upset the world have come here also."
Now, what happened? When they said the word, when? It was when the moment they was persecuted. You see, persecution is supposed to validate and verify you who you are. If persecution is declining you and devaluing you and suppressing you, that shows that you are lost your saltiness. How many of you getting what I'm saying? Let me quickly go to other thoughts. Now we saw second things. Salt has what? Ability to purify. How many of you know that? Its ability to purify, Let me show you a scripture verse. 2 Kings chapter 2, verse 20 and 21 and 22. The context is what? Elisha was actually what? Changing the Jericho's water. Read that. Can we read that?
And he said, "Bring me a new jar and put salt in it." So they brought it to him. Then he went out to the spring of water and threw salt in it and said, "This is what the Lord says. I have purified these waters. This shall not come from there death or unfruitfulness any longer."
Now look at me as I say, this is a spiritual, is a narrative, a biological event is taking place, a natural event. What happened? The water is bitter. Put and drink. Elisha says, "Come, bring a bowl of water, put the salt, and spill over that." And what happened? The water was healed and back to normal to able to drink. So it's a supernatural healing taking place in the water. Am I right? That's what we can see. We can see in a natural way, we can learn a lot of things. But let me bring another depth spiritually. I say water symbolizes who? Humanity. Did I say that? A salt water is you and me supposed to spill over the water so that healing and purification will take place. If that means, if we say that things are happening and the home cannot take it, then the question is that it's not about your identity. The question is that you lost your saltiness. I cannot do anything in my working place. That shows that you lost your saltiness. I cannot do anything in the society. That means you lost your saltiness. You're supposed to be a purification, cleanse. Those days, ancient days, they used salty water to what? To rub upon the wounds. So what happened? It brings healing quickly. It purifies. Bacteria are killed. You understand what I'm saying? That's what the picture here Stocky is saying. That means you and I, wherever you go, that's what happened. Let me talk about Moody. Have you ever heard about this man? Very profound man. If you read through his history. One day he went into the barber shop. Everybody was cutting barber and people are sitting. One man experienced it. He was sharing about D.L. Moody. He silently crippled into the barber shop. The moment he crippled, the guy was having cut his hair. He said the entire atmosphere was changed. The conversation was changed. The man who came inside silently elevate our thought and perceptions. Wow! Is that your life? Where you silently enter and bring others' perception, elevation, thoughts and elevations. If you are not doing that in your home, in your society, in your working place, that shows that you lost your saltiness. That was a testimony of a D.L. Moody. I was so touched. Salt works silently. Am I right? And secretly. You couldn't see the salt when you put in the curry, right? Would you be able to see? But it works silently, secretly, slowly. That's what Jesus is trying to say. You work silently, secretly, where nobody notices. But the power that you carry is totally different. What about the light? While light is visible, you can see. It doesn't work secretly. He's able to see. And he's able to what? Expose things. It works quickly. How many of you know the speed of light is so much faster. So you saw the two elements here, salt and what? Slowly, speedily, secretly expose all these elements. That's what he's trying to say. Are you with me? So what we saw? It purifies. So let me quickly go into other part. How many of you know that the salt promotes thirsty? How many of you know that your body have certain elements of salt? Am I right to say? Why did God pull that? Because the salt continuously promote thirsty inside you, so that you will drink water. So what is Jesus trying to say? You are supposed to continue to bring thirsty upon humanity, upon your family, in your working place, where people says, I want to know this Jesus. And that's hello? Are you with me? Can I quickly go to the other part? Salt has power to change. What I mean by that? If we put salt in the ice, what will happen? Do you know that? What will happen? It quickly melts it. If we put the salt water or salt in the rusty metal, what will happen? It changes. So what he's trying to say is, you can change rusty persons. You can melt people by you become what? Being a salt. How many of you know that? That's what Jesus was. When he went into Zacchaeus' house, he was melting his heart. He's changing his rustiness. Am I right? Did he say that, Zacchaeus, do you realize that these are things 1, 2, 3, 4, you never do? He didn't say that. His presence of himself was changing. So Jesus said, you are the salt of the world. Your presence in the earth is important, value, expensive. Why? You are going to what? Melt, change people. Do you believe that? Many times you don't believe that. Many times you don't recognize that. That's a problem. So how many? We saw number 5, right? Now let me go to number 6. Salt provide flavor, pleasing ability. Am I right? How many of you eat without salt? Is there anybody eat without salt? The moment that you have no flavor in the curry, what do you say? Ma, you never put add on salt. Can you put that? What happened? It produces flavor. It's not a big amount, It's not a big amount. A small quantity of salt. That's what is again a strategy moment. A small quantity. Jesus doesn't need bigger one. He needs a small quantity, quality salt that is able to impact the entire globe. Do you understand? He chose 12 of them. The 11 of them was impacting the world. Do you understand that? How many of you getting what I'm saying? Are you with me? That means you can produce flavor. That means what? You can add on flavor in your life. That's what Jesus says to Abraham. You will be blessing to others. That means what he says, you are the salt, you will add flavor on us. That means when you meet with somebody in life, you bring what prospers in them. You bring healing in them. You bring what? Something in new expression, new dimension of God. You bring them new directions of their life, new purpose. That's supposed to be you. If that is not happening with you, then what's happening? Something wrong with you. That means you lost your saltiness. So we saw number 6, right? Number 7. Salty has ability to poison. Do you know that? Now let me tell you something. Judges chapter 9 verse 45.
Abimelech fought against the city that whole day, and he captured the city and killed the people who were in it. Then he tore down the city and sowed it with salt.
Why? Why did he put the salt? Because salt will destroy everything, poison everything. The king understood that. He did that. Why? It has power of to what? Poison, kill. What is the purpose of poison? Is to kill, right? So what Jesus is trying to say is, wherever the enemy release deadness, you can kill the deadness. You have power to what? Kill, poison everything the enemy is beginning. Okay, we saw number 7, right? Number 8. Salt promote growth. Interesting. Do you know that? No, when they talk about the salt, is they talking about ancient. When Jesus was talking about salt, in those days, salt are actually used to fertilize land. Salt, when they put that. So what fertilize means what? It has to grow. So Jesus says, wherever there's no growth, you can bring growth. Wherever there's stagnancy, you can what? Break the stagnancy, you can bring breakthrough. This is what you are. It can be breakthrough in your finance, breakthrough in the career, breakthrough in your advance, every area, even breakthrough in every area element. I mean, not about yourself, you can bring into everybody's life. You can bring growth. If your life is bringing growth into anybody's life. If it doesn't happen, that means you lost the saltiness. Okay, now, we saw 8 things there. Okay, now, quickly, let me go back to the other part. Now, warning. Let us go to the warning. Can we do that? Okay, now, go back to verse 13 again. Okay, now, I'm going to quickly, within 10 minutes, I'm going to wrap up this. Okay, this is what I always does. I'm good in doing this. See, I know you won't appreciate me. I need to appreciate myself. Okay, read that. Okay, come on, read that.
You are the salt of the earth, but if the salt has become tasteless, how can it be made salty again? It is no longer good for anything except to be thrown out and trampled underfoot by people.
You see, when I read that, I come across 4D. Pastor, you're introducing 4D. Wow, good, man. I will do that. I'm not introducing that 4D. Okay, the 4D I actually find out. Okay, now, D number 1, the descriptions of failure. What he says, but if the salt has become tasteless, or other version says what? What's your other version says? Loss is taste or flavor. That means it fails its assignment. It fails its ability. Now, very interesting the word. Let me go back to what the word means. Lost the flavor. You know, the Greek word is moros, where it comes the word moran. You know what's moran? You moran now. When you say somebody, what's that? You stupid. That is what it means. Absolutely, that's what it means. That means what he says, when you become dull in your walk, when you become stagnant in your growth, when you become sluggish in your walk, in the purpose of God, in the walk of God, then you become tasteless. So when you stop in growing, that means you are what? You lost your flavor. So what he's trying to say is, that is where you become dull, sluggish, and what happened? You become stupid. You will say things stupid, you will behave stupid, you do actions stupid, which lost your entire testimony of your life. And that's what Jesus is trying to say. So now you understand the growth inside you is very important. The moment that you stop growing, you become dull in spiritual things, dull in the walk of God, purpose of God, sluggish in your purpose of God, sluggish in the work of God, and you become very stupidity. You will do things that stupidity. You say things, you behave stupidity. All these elements will come. Then that shows that you are actually a salt, but now what happens is not your identity. You lost what? Your flavor. You understand that? That means you lost the characters. What characters that he's talking about? Beatitudes. Blessed are poor in the spirit. Blessed are what? Pure in heart. Blessed are what? Humble. Blessed are what? Hunger and thirst for righteous. Do you understand? These are the elements that is inside you. Will help you to continue your flavor to be remain there. Once these elements comes out of you, remove out of you the structures. That's why the nation of Israel lost their structure. That's why they become what? Tasteless. They're supposed to be what? Light and salt to the nations. Influence. Strategic nation that's supposed to move other nation towards God. But they couldn't because you lost what? Flavor. Because of what? No growth. Sluggish. Not aggressive, not pursuing God, not seeking God, not researching on God, study God, go know God, serving God in a fervent way. All these elements is lost in you. That shows you have what? You have what? You become what? Losing your flavor. That's what Jesus is trying to say. Okay, now, the second thing that he's talking about, not only descriptions of the failure, the value of the failure. He says that you what? What he says? Can you read that? Again, read that.
You are the salt of the earth, but if the salt has become tasteless, how can it be made salty again? It is no longer good for anything.
No longer good for anything. That means the value of the salt is no more, devalued. The importance of the salt is no more. You never become important. You never become value. You never become precious. You never become expensive because you lost your saltiness. When you lost your saltiness, that's where the value comes. The important. That means you feel that you're not important. You feel that shows you lost your taste, your what? Flavor. So means what? You were not able to impact anybody. Your service to others is not very much impactable, but cannot draw people. No, you become useless, ineffective. And that's what Jesus is trying to say. You will never be effective in your home. You cannot be effective in your working place. You cannot be effective in your society. Because what? Devalue. Because why? Saltiness. The flavor is no more. How many of you getting what I'm saying? That's what Jesus is trying to say. Let me go to other part of that. It's not only about the descriptions of the failure. It's not only about the what? The devalue of the failure, but it's also about the durations of the failure. Where do I come across the word durations? How can it make salty again? That means there's no duration. Duration has failed. That means it came to a place that it lost a place of influence. That's what Jesus said to the church of Ephesus. I will remove the lampstand from you. When I say remove the lampstand, that means you no more, you will exist as a church, but you have no more impact in society. No more influence. You lost your place. You lost your authority. You are lost what? Something that you cannot regain back. And that's what he's talking about. Are you with me? Are you with me? Are you following what I'm saying? So it's where you are no more able to gain back. You lost that permanently. Do you know the church of Ephesus lost this permanently? You know, when the very moment when the word came, they rectify the issue. They go back to the place that Jesus wanted them. But days, decade after, century after, they went back to the same. Now, you go to Ephesus, you will never see the church of Ephesus exist there. You can see the tombstones there. No more influence in Europe. And because no influence, do you know Europe is a very hardened area? Hardened, penetrated, because salt are very less. You understand that? Okay, now, we saw the descriptions, we saw the D value, we saw the durations, we saw the doom. What was the doom? It says, no longer good for anything except to be thrown out and trampled under the foot by men. Now look at me. Two judgment. One is thrown out. One is what? Trampled down. So what he's trying to say? That means discard. Lost your spiritual value permanent. Throw out. Everything is thrown out of you. That is what he's trying to say. What is being trampled down? Those days when they was throw the salt in the pathway where people walk upon that. That means people despise you. Shame comes upon you. That's why the entire nation was walking in embarrassment. Remember when Nehemiah heard about the walls crumble down, he was crying because remember he said the statement, reproach, shame that was haunting them. So Jesus is trying to say, when you lost your saltiness, shame become part of your life. Despise will be. People will look down on you. Shame. People will never respect you.